as a reporter, it's my job to use words to hook you, to get you to listen to the rest of my story. I talk about the main character so many times, the hero, the victim, the firefighter, the candidate, that I've got to kind of switch it up a little bit or it would just get monotonous. Does anyone remember the time that Charlie Sheen wrecked his hotel room at the Plaza Hotel? In that story, I called him Charlie Sheen, the 45-year-old, the Hollywood bad boy, the Two and a Half Men star, that's when he was still on it, and the actor with an admitted penchant for prostitutes. A couple years before that, I did a story about a Connecticut man. He would fill up water bottles with an explosive substance. He'd place them around town, then he would get his rifle, and he'd shoot at them, causing them to explode. Whatever they were next to would explode too. Now, that guy was arrested, and before I could even do my TV story, the local paper wrote about him, and they gave him a name. Pretty much after that, Bruce Forrest of Weston, Connecticut was known as the Porta Potty Bomber. Labels. We all use them. I want you to do me a favor. Think of 3 labels you wear every day. You may have never thought about the labels that you use to describe yourself, so here's your opportunity. Charlie Sheen and the Porta Potty Bomber got their labels after they did something to earn them. But what if I told you that the reverse could be true? That what you call yourself creates yourself? I'm about to admit a secret to you that I've hid my whole life. My secret is I'm a high school dropout. I grew up in Hicksville, Long Island. Yes, that's an actual town name. My parents split when I was 13, and to this day, it's still hard for me to talk about. And I know that they did their best, but truth is, my dad left, and my mom was hurt, angry, anxious, and preoccupied, and I was 13. So I ran away a lot, looking for just love, solace, a sense of belonging. Basically, what I did was anything that I wanted to do. And what I most wanted to do was to cut school and later on hang out with my older boyfriend who had split his time evenly between snorting cocaine and scoring angel dust off of drug dealers in Spanish Harlem with his best friend. And looking back, it is amazing that I survived. There were times that I'd have to hop out of the car that they were doing drugs in because I didn't think I'd make it home alive. I was also in the car when they would buy those drugs in Spanish Harlem off drug dealers. Me, an underage girl, knowing what I know now, I am so blessed, so lucky that I wasn't killed, raped, or at the very least arrested. And one day, I'd racked up enough absences and I couldn't graduate. So I dropped out, and I got a job at a produce market in town called Duval Farms. It was a produce market right there. I was a cashier. I'd go there to work every day, and then when I turned 18, I took my GED, and I kept working at the market because I didn't think that other jobs were available to someone like me. And by someone like me, I mean a high school dropout without a world of options. I believe people come into our lives for a reason. You can call them angels. You can call them the universe's steering wheel. You can call them anything you like, but just be open and let them in. I call them label whisperers. One day after my shift at the produce market, my high school friend, John Ginzale, and I were hanging out, and he was telling me about his life. He'd just started community college, and I was listening intently. And he was telling me how he made his own schedule. He didn't start class before 11 a.m. He took classes he thought sounded interesting. Marketing, art. He didn't have to take science and math. He was taking all these cool classes, and he was hanging out with people his own age, having fun, making new friends. I was ringing up fruit at the market, surrounded by older people. He saw the look on my face as I was listening to him. And then John said something to me that I didn't know it at the time, but it would change my life forever. It's very simple. He just looked at me and said, "You could be a college student." Why not you? John saw something in me that I didn't even know enough to see. John was my first label whisperer. I signed up for 3 classes I thought sounded interesting at Nassau Community College, and that marked the first time I actively made my own label of college student. That gave me the confidence to apply for a job at Geico Insurance, which you may have heard the commercials of. They're everywhere. And from there, I worked and put myself through college, and I eventually transferred to Stony Brook University, where I ended up making myself another label, college graduate. I settled into a life of office jobs in marketing, and one day, this unworldly Long Island girl took a trip to New York City to see the Museum of Modern Art. And I fell in love. If anyone has ever been in love, you know the feeling. It's the sweats. It's the butterflies. It's that feeling that you have found home. I fell in love with not just the pace, but the possibility of that city. To me, labels were hanging off trees there. I got another marketing job, and I moved to Manhattan. And the labels just started getting better. So now at this point, I'm in my 20s. I'm living in a studio in New York City. It's like a Sex and the City episode, but season 1. You know, when they had those landline phones? And I'm going out at night. I have great friends. I'm having a wonderful time, enjoying my first love, New York City. And that's when I met my second love, a boyfriend named Todd, very different from my high school boyfriend. Todd was super accomplished. And truth be known, I had never met anyone like him. Where I come from, Hicksville, you don't meet a lot of people that went to Harvard. Now, we were dating for a little bit, and he pointed out something to me that I didn't even know I was doing. Now, you know when you're at a party and someone asks you what you do? Did you ever hear the labels that you're spitting out? Well, I didn't. At this point, my labels and everything I was saying kind of sounded like this, a little half-heartedly. Well, I work at American Express, I work in marketing, I don't really like it, but, you know, it's what I do. I was creating myself with what I was calling myself, and I didn't even know it. Uninspired, unsatisfied, and settling. See, ever since I moved to New York City, I wanted to be creative. I had dreams of being creative and telling the stories about the people and the place that so changed my life forever. But see, where I came from, I thought I went as far as I could go. I didn't know that all of those labels hanging off trees were really available to me. It took seeing myself through someone else's eyes, Todd's eyes, a person who knew that anything was possible, and it really is, that made me see that it really was. 2 months later, asbestos, concrete, and falling bodies stung my eyes as I escaped that marketing job at American Express in Lower Manhattan on 9/11. And I learned in a millisecond that sometimes you don't get a do-over. I wanted a new label, my dream job of reporter. So I took a buyout from American Express, and I started at the bottom. My first job was an entry-level news assistant job for the 24-hour news network in New York City called New York One. I got paid $10.50 an hour. And I carried a tripod and a camera throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City shooting news. This was a tough job to get, by the way. So many people wanted this. It was freelance, and sometimes I'd just work 1 day a week. The first time I worked a full week, I made $5 less than I would have gotten had I sat home and collected unemployment. That's how little I got paid. My path was not easy. I worked every holiday and every shift. I worked in markets across this country where I did stories about cows getting loose and a cat getting up a tree. But here I am. Remember before when I said, what you call yourself creates yourself? Well, even if you're not conscious of it, you choose your labels every day. Unworthy, not smart enough, not skinny enough. Those are the poisonous labels. And then there are the more subtle, where you don't actively choose your labels. Maybe you don't think you can do it. Maybe you don't think you're worthy. Or maybe you think it's just hard work and you're not up for it and you can't do it. Well, I'm here to tell you that the label you are wearing right now does not need to be the label that you wear tomorrow. Remember earlier when I asked you about those 3 labels? Do you like them? Do you love them? Now think of 3 labels you would love to wear. Like if money wasn't a thing, time was infinite, they're just handing out labels and you have no constraints, what would you pick? I'm telling you, it is not easy, but it is worth it. You're here, you're breathing, you're alive. That's the minimum. You know who's not here? That high school boyfriend and his best friend. They're dead. And that's not a label you can change. So how do you choose your labels? I can only tell you what I do. For me, it's controlling my inner voice. So when it says to me, you didn't finish high school, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, who do you think you are? These people don't want you here. That you bitch slap that inner voice and you slap a more worthy label over its big mouth. You went to the right school to learn everything you need. You're smart enough. You have every right to be here. And this could work for you too. Let me quote Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite quotes. Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. Now these are my labels now. Anchor, reporter, storyteller, blogger, and TEDx talker. And let me add, grateful daughter, because my parents are back together and we have the best relationship we can have, but that is a whole nother talk. And if I have not convinced you that you can overcome any current label you have on yourself, maybe these people can. Slow speaker, bad singer, pregnant 14-year-old, cocaine addict, failure, mute. You know who wore those labels? Einstein, Elvis, Oprah Winfrey, Gabby Bernstein, Charles Schwab, and Maya Angelou. If you are blessed enough to love the life you're living and the label you're wearing, then I believe it is your duty to become a label whisperer for someone else. Thank you.